I'm from Perth and appear as a private individual. I've read many of the submissions to this inquiry, and my case is one of many involving Bankwest. If anyone had told this story to me several years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. I thought it couldn't happen in Australia, and I would have thought there would have been laws and regulatory bodies to stop this sort of thing happening. In 2007, our main property, the Lighthouse Beach Resort, was valued at $20 million. A few years later, in 2009, it was revalued at $14.7 million, which was a substantial discount, but we thought that fair enough given the way the property market had gone. So just 9 months after the valuation, the reduced valuation, Bankwest advised us again that they needed another valuation at our cost, being $9,500. Sorry, it was 5 months later, just 5 months later, another valuation at our cost. The new valuation came in at 22% less than the valuation of just 5 months before. On the 10th of August that year, just a few weeks after the valuation was given to us, Bankwest advised us our interest rate margins would double. In February 2011, we got a purchase offer for the Lighthouse Beach Resort at $14 million, being 22% higher than what their valuation was. So in other words, we got an offer for it close to what the original valuation was, but almost proved them wrong. On the 31st of March, Bankwest advised us if they didn't get all their money back, by the 31st of May, it would get ugly. They advised us if arrangements were not made to pay all the money back in one lot, that penalty interest rates of 18% would apply. Our profits were at record levels, but I said we just could not afford to pay the 18% interest rate. On the 22nd of June, Bankwest issued a deed of forbearance. In a nutshell, without going through the pages and pages, it's got a confidentiality clause, so we can't tell anyone what's being done. It's got a fee of $200,000 if we sign it, which is excessive, what we believe was excessive. The bank knew that we were capable of paying all our interest going forward. That's sort of summed up in that deed. So basically the deed is you keep paying your interest going forward, we know you're capable of doing it. You pay your interest, we'll charge you $200,000 fee, so if anything goes wrong, you can't tell anyone, and guess what? If you trip over the line, your interest rate's 18%. Now that was just to extend our facilities for 5 months. We took this to our lawyer and our accountant, and they said you'd be absolutely crazy to sign it, so we didn't. Bankwest then advised us our interest rates would double again. We got an offer from our business partner at that point for $13.3 million for the Lighthouse Beach Resort, which would have paid off most of our debt. Unfortunately, Bankwest said they wanted all their money back in one lump sum. We had 4 separate properties at that stage which we could have sold separately to sell the debt back progressively. They knocked that offer back. They said, we want our money back all in one lot, and then basically they brought their receivers in. Bankwest appointed Taylor Woodings as receiver managers. They charge us up to $525 an hour, and they have 3 or 4 accountants now running my business. Taylor Woodings refused to tell me what was going on anyway. All our profits were taken. They told me not to ask questions as doing so adds to the cost of receivership. Our staff were in tears, scared and terrible. These are licensed thieves hijacking a good cash flow business. Taylor Woodings issued myself and my wife with termination notices. My wage at that stage was about $87,000 a year. We found out afterwards that Taylor Woodings had been charging us to do what I did, $110,000 a month. Taylor Woodings put a submission to Fair Work Australia stating their case. And within that submission were a series of lies to justify my sacking. These lies, I believe, are serious and false and misleading statements. A few weeks ago, I sent a letter to Taylor Woodings saying I'm going to appear before this Senate committee. Could they respond to this? I got an email, which I'll bring up later, at 4:35 yesterday afternoon, threatening me with action if I submit this document.
If you what?
If I discuss this document.
In this here today?
Yes.
You're under parliamentary privilege, sir.
That's potentially contempt of the Senate.
I can prove that.
Do you wish to table that document?
I will. Yes, I will. I've got that letter.
Chair, he wishes to table that.
Have you sent? Have you got it? Did they send you an email telling you that?
Yes, I've got it here.
Okay, if you could table that, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, I haven't given it to you, but I've got it here. I wasn't sure whether I could table it.
Table it as well.
You can table both the list of allegations plus the email. That'd be very,
okay.
very
Do you want
helpful.
it now?
Yeah.
Our advisors inform us that the conduct of the banker involved in this situation is fraudulent, negligent, misleading and deceptive and in breach of fiduciary obligation. I've also been threatened with legal action if I make that public, but I have anyway. I believe there is a degree of criminality in this situation. I approached others to form a syndicate to buy the property, and they were preparing to put an offer to buy it for $14 million, but they were told not to by the selling agents. So we were told, I don't know why. The selling agent said Taylor Woodings had instructed them it had sold, but in a meeting I then requested with Bankwest, Taylor Woodings admitted it hadn't actually been sold. So because of my inquiries, it went back on the market, by which time the syndicate that was interested in buying it had bought another property elsewhere. So basically we had interested parties, they were preparing to put an offer in, it's all documented, they were told to go away, we found out that the property hadn't been sold and then it went back on the market. Meanwhile, in the midst of all this secrecy and deception, our business partner, a prominent banker himself, negotiated with Taylor Woodings without our knowledge to buy it for $9.5 million, $4.5 million less than what he'd offered just a few months before. We have been advised that this conduct is illegal. I've got friends, I tell them, but they don't believe me. It's just like, this couldn't happen. Well, I've got all the proof of it here. Our lawyers can't believe it. Our accountants can't believe it. No one, they just can't. They just think this just can't happen in Australia. Well, they do believe it. They say the laws have got so out of whack that it does happen. The other property I've got was the National Hotel, which is an old, beautiful old heritage building in Fremantle, which we were rebuilding. It was valued at $7 million before the receivers got it. Eventually we found out that it had sold for $3.6 million, half its valuation. We then put legal pressure on Taylor Woodings and demanded documents taken without legal. This is how we've got to talk. We demanded documents taken from our offices without legal jurisdiction, which is legal speak for stolen. My lawyer said, don't use the word stolen, use the word taken without legal jurisdiction, but that's actually what it was. And eventually they gave us boxes back. They gave us 7 boxes of our personal stuff back, including all the documents of my wife and I's personal superannuation. So it's just another world. At that point, Taylor Woodings threatened to sue us if we disclose this to the media. Bankwest by this time are charging us 18.8% on the Taylor Woodings fees and now calling on us for any shortfall. It's almost criminal. The interest rate previously was 7.8%. So we've gone from 7.8% to up to 18%. 9.5 months of doing what I used to do, they charged us $1,055,000. As I said, I was paying myself $87,000 a year.
Okay.
Shortly after that, we got a letter from the Financial Ombudsman Service. The conclusion is, this is their conclusion, they're unable to progress or reconsider our matter because it's under receivership and they have not received the authority of the receivers. So in other words, they need the authority of Taylor Woodings who have robbed us to investigate. So in summary, Bankwest have artificially devalued our business, doubled and quadrupled their interest rate margins, then demanded all their money back in one sum, making refinancing virtually impossible. We were forced to sell and the receivers gouged our business and lined their pockets to disgrace. Our losses to date total over $10 million as a result of this. The regulatory bodies seem powerless to act. Why did Bankwest try to stop this inquiry? Why are they on the offensive and trying to stop further action? I've been told Bankwest was insolvent and that the RBA bailed them out. We did not know this at the time and we couldn't understand why they became extraordinarily difficult to deal with. At a meeting with an employee from Bankwest, Treasury, I said it must be interesting working within Bankwest and juggling the cash flows. The guy from Treasury said to my surprise that at times they didn't have money. He actually told me that there were times when Bankwest didn't have money, they were juggling things around behind the scenes. At that time, I didn't know how serious it was. At a meeting with a Bankwest business manager in Bunbury, they told me that Bankwest Business Bunbury hadn't lent any money since the start of the GSC. I've been in business for 20-something years. I've had a profitable, solvent business until the start of 2011. Never had a problem. Well, you know...
So you'd never missed a payment?
Never missed a payment until the start of 2011. When this happened, of course we did.
The only problem you've ever had was
Yes.
created by Bankwest.
Yes, yes. Never a problem. Charges need to be brought against individuals, I believe. I believe it's... I believe it's... I think there's actually stuff there that's actually criminally corrupt. I think there's some aspects of what's happened with me that are criminally corrupt. And I'm being told to shut up, so you've got to wonder why. And I'm just one of lots that are being told to shut up. And you've got the proof of it that I'm being told to shut up.
I realise that banks, basically are sound in Australia and basically do the right thing, but then you get these times like yours and you question why would they pull a plug on you when you've never missed a payment.